All right, let's go to Jessica in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. What's up, Jessica? How are you?
Hey, Dr. John. I'm doing pretty good. How are you this morning?
I'm good. That sounds fantastic. Insider baseball, we had some phone line issues probably on our part, and so now we are squared up, and you sound like a human. That's awesome, Jessica. Okay,
Yes,
so
great.
you are filling me in. You've got some chaos in your house. What's going on?
Yes, 8 weeks ago, I had twin girls, and just a lot of changes there. And my husband's been struggling, so I'm just trying to see how I can help him out with this.
Very cool. So walk me through. One, congratulations on having two twin girls, and you've got two other kids, right? So you got a total of four?
Yeah, 4 girls.
And the oldest one is how old?
6.
Wow. Okay, so people email me all the time on the internet, or they slide into my DMs, and they tell me that I say the words, you're in it too much, and so I won't say that, but you are super in it, man. Wow. Okay, 4, 6, and under. That's a lot. Okay, so how's your husband struggling?
Well, we've had a lot of changes going on this year with the pandemic, and we had deaths in the family of our grandparents. We moved in the summer.
Where'd you move from? Like
area.
A new state or a new town?
Just a new town.
Okay.
Yeah, we moved just about an hour away from where we were living.
Okay. Oh, man, I've got a whole thing about that. Okay, so when you say he's struggling, what does that look like?
Just dealing with some depression, like just anxiety, fear of, supplying for us, for the family financially, just a lot of doubts and worthlessness, feeling, not worthy or just feeling like he's not doing a good job.
Gotcha. Where does he get that message from?
Mostly himself.
Okay.
I feel like, it's just thoughts that are being put into his head, or attacks on him that are coming from, things that think they're going to happen, but then they don't end up happening.
Meaning like people are going to offer him a job and then they don't come through?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He has a business that he started, so he'll have a plan and then it won't, follow through. And he just gets really discouraged.
Why'd y'all move?
We just felt the Lord calling us to this area specifically.
What does that mean? When you say the Lord calls us, like, what does that mean?
We felt a really strong pull to this area. It's a prayer. It's called Prayer Mountain, and we have some land here.
Okay.
And so we have some family that live here, but we just felt that the Lord was trying to get us out of the city life and more into the country life with, land and an area where we could raise our children. We could hunt. We could, be ourselves. We could just be more free to be us and not have to live under that city type of lifestyle where we're, always dealing with loud neighbors or, things going on that we don't believe in.
My coyotes are pretty loud neighbors too, but I get what you're saying. So,
yeah.
I have some ideas, but I want to get a sense of what you're living with. You've got these 2 little babies, and twins are a lot. And you've got 2 other little ones who now we're the center of the universe, and now they are understandably having to wipe their own bottoms, and they don't like that. And a lot of this, I'm guessing, because you got somebody who just is trying to start a new business in a new little community, a lot of that falls on you, and now you are also having a weird task of propping up a depressed husband. Walk me through what that feels like.
It feels hard. It feels like, I'm taking this day by day, just trying to make it through the day or, make it through the end of the week but I also feel like I'm not doing a good enough job or being, a good enough spouse for him.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing my job by raising the children, taking care of the babies, feeding them, changing them, all those things that come with the responsibility of being a mother. But also, first and foremost, your relationship with your spouse has to be top priority, and you have to make sure that you're on the same level with your spouse and putting them first.
What's something is different now, and it's making you nervous. What is it? There's something below what you're telling me is what I'm getting at. There's something else.
Yeah. That this is all new to me. Like, okay. This is all a change. Yeah, it's a big change. And we had full-time jobs. We both worked full-time at our old, where we lived, and things were comfortable.
Yeah.
But now things are not so comfortable. Gotcha. And the future looks kind of, wish-washy.
Yeah, okay. And it looks wish-washy. And your husband thinks he's failing because he's not making enough money, because he can't count on people, because he thought this move to the country was going to heal everything, and it was all going to. What does he feel like he's missing? Or all of it?
It's just a lot of pressure. He had this job that he did for somebody in their house, mm-hmm. and now they've come back and they're not happy, or this is falling apart, or this way.
Sure.
And he just feels, like he's not doing a good job.
Yeah. Is it honest to say that he didn't do a good job on that one?
No, that's not true.
Okay.
Anything he touches turns to gold. He's very craftsman.
Okay.
Very crafty. So yeah, it's just.
So
it's hard.
Let me back all the way out. Here's a couple of things I want y'all to keep in your mind, and some things y'all can do to kind of not get through this season, but to make this season something really powerful and important. And this touches close to home for me because I just went through this about a year ago, moving from downtown. I mean, it was bustling. It was awesome. We were walking everywhere. The city was always going, to now we live on some acres out in like the woods. Like coyotes running across the yard, woods.
Yeah. Right.
I hear this a lot from people who make this transition, that they think whenever I get there, wherever there is, finally things will be okay. Mm-hmm. And I will be a little less anxious about the state of the economy, and I'll be a little less anxious about supply chain issues, and I'll be a little less worried about COVID, and I'll finally get out of these dumb schools because then I'll be able to, whatever. And we play one side of that equation over and over, and we tell ourselves the story, and then every single thing we see backs up our story that we tell ourselves. We forget the 50 emails that are positive that the school sends, and they send the one that makes us crazy, and we go, see? And we start looking everywhere for data points that are going to back up our story. And then we move. And this also works if you're going in reverse. This is if you're going to break up with somebody and get somebody new, or you're cheating on your spouse, whatever the thing is, we think that when we get over there, wherever there is, finally things will be okay. And the worst part about any sort of transition is that you go with you. And if you were anxious when you lived in a city, you're going to be super anxious when you're living out in the middle of the country. And if you didn't like customer interaction, you're really good with your hands, and you didn't like customer interaction in your old job, and you can't wait to just do it on your own. Well, on your own, it's all customer interaction. You know what I mean? So we miss the good parts. We miss the tough parts. We just look for the parts that validate our story. The second thing that I underestimated is it's lonely out in the country. It's lonely.
Yeah.
And I had neighbors. I didn't even like them all, but I had them.
Right.
And I had one neighbor, dogs are always barking. They drove me crazy. Now it's just silence. And the silence was awesome for a few months. And I kind of miss the dog. You know what I mean? So it's a both and. But I got really, really lonely. And then there's this weird thing about moving an hour away. And here's my little hypothesis about this. There's no research to back this up. I think moving an hour away or 45 minutes away is really hard because you tell yourself that things will mostly be the same. We can still come visit them. We'll still go to this restaurant. We'll still go see these people because it's just an hour away. And you don't realize there's no chance you're doing that. And if you move 10 hours away, you have to pack up and move to a new place. But you kind of stretch it out when you move an hour away. Is that fair?
Right. Yes.
It's like this. It'll be both and it's just not. And I don't know. You get this middle space here. So I'll just say what me and my wife have had to do. Okay.
Okay.
One, have you called out his depression?
Yes.
And what does he say to that?
That he just doesn't feel like it's something that he could talk to somebody about. It's not becoming of a man to talk about his feelings kind of thing.
And what I will tell you is it's not becoming of a man to melt your wife. And it's not becoming of a man to starve his 4 daughters of connection. And it's not becoming of a man to be in a home and not present.
Mm-hmm.
And so the most manly thing he could do would be to go take care of himself.
Yeah.
And I'd love for him to call me because I'll take him to task over that nonsense. The most manly thing he could do is take care of himself. And I work with Navy SEALs behind closed doors. I work with some folks behind closed doors. And the baddest of the bad. And they take care of themselves. Okay? So here's what y'all have to do that I don't think you have. Y'all need to have some sort of, and I know it's almost impossible with 2 8-week-olds or 8-month-olds. You have to get away, even if for 2 hours, and do a here's where we are now conversation. It sounds like y'all ran to a new world and you didn't stop. You just life kept going. And it kept going and it's still trying to just keep going, but everything has changed. And so if you were a Navy SEAL and you had a mission and you went out on that mission and all of a sudden your lead Humvees blew up and you found yourself in another, you have to stop for a second and say, okay, our objective now is different. It was to go get the bad guys. Now it's to just get home. And everything's changed. Y'all have to have that conversation. And that will look like this. Getting out some paper and writing down, here's all the things that I miss about our old house. Here's all the things I'm so glad that we're away from. Here is where I feel like I'm failing. Here's where I think I'm doing good. You got to put all that on paper and get it out of each other's heads. And now there's this tension between each other because you don't know how to lean into him. And because it's like a little bit reactory, or it's a little bit like putting your hand in quicksand. And then he feels that you're not there. And then he feels like he's failing. And this thing just loops on itself, right? And now you are starting to wonder, what am I doing wrong as a wife? And like, I should be able to say the right thing that's going to snap him out of all this. And he should be saying, I shouldn't have a depressed wife. It's my fault. And now y'all end up way far apart. So somebody's got to just say, hey, we got to acknowledge this, call it out, write down what sucks about this new season, what we miss, what we love. And you've got to start modeling. The only thing you can do here, you can't fix him. Let me put it that way. You've got to start modeling, I'm taking care of myself. Mm-hmm. And if that means I'm going to get a babysitter that we can't even afford because I'm going to go see a counselor, I'm going to go talk to a pastor that I trust, whatever that looks like, I'm going to go do that. And here's the thing that I hope this isn't controversial. Good grief. Who never knows with the internets? The reason I wanted you to dig in a little bit on this phrase, God's calling us. I hear that a lot all over the country. And 2 things happen. One, people make big, crazy life moves, and they say, God told us to. And they don't take ownership of the fact that we really wanted to move. We wanted to get out of there. And when we can say God's telling us to, or some big universe is calling us, whatever that means, we often don't do the planning required. Do we have enough money? Do we have a plan? Do we have any sort of income? Are we going to be able to pay the light bill? And not to say that, faith is, obviously faith's important, but we don't do the planning. And then when we show up somewhere and it's uncomfortable, it melts everything. It melts our relationships. It melts faith. It melts everything. And so I have no doubt, I'm never going to get between you and your faith ever. But I want you to have faith and plan. Like, have faith and make really sound financial decisions and relational decisions. What does that mean? He's trying to get a business off the ground. He may have to deliver pizzas at night in this new community. He may have to mow lawns and cut down trees too for a season. And that's not going to feel like, quote unquote, I got called to this thing where I'm grinding. But that may be the season you're in because we got to pay bills. And that's where you're going to get these little wins and begin to get our feet underneath us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I understand. Mm-hmm.
The big thing is don't just let all of this change run over you and just try to get to the next thing. Y'all got to stop and acknowledge everything. You got to grieve it. We missed this stuff. We made a big move. This is our new world. And now we can build a new plan moving forward. And that's so, so hard. And what's going to be really hard for you, you're so great. What's going to be hard for you is you can't fix him and you can't help him. I mean, you can help him, you can love him, you can connect, but you can't fix him. He has to make some decisions about him being well, about him gonna maybe let this dream die for a minute or do this dream on the side because he's got to make some money, or maybe he had these dreams of a big house and he's gonna have to have a small house for the next decade and fill in the blank. Like, we have to be honest about those things, and he's gonna have to make the hard choice to change his thoughts and to change his actions and be disciplined in taking care of himself and his relationships, and that's hard. And so I hope he sees this. I want to tell you, brother, you are worth being well. You're worth taking care of yourself. And I don't want to hear any more nonsense about what's unbecoming of a man. All of that is nonsense. The most becoming thing is taking care of yourself and being well. If you're not okay, you're not okay, man. I've been there. Every guy I know has been there. The courageous thing is, the brave thing is, are we going to be vulnerable and go get help? That's the question. Jessica, he's lucky to have you. Y'all get away and start grieving, and then we'll get to making plans in the future.